Good evening, and welcome to Sky Tonight. The waning crescent moon is a thin crescent low in the east before sunrise, 41% illuminated in the constellation Aries. Please enable captions in your preferred language to view local observing cities and times. Join us for a guided tour of tonight's whole sky. We start the evening with Venus halfway up the southern sky, followed by the lost-in-space galaxy high in the northern sky, while Vega and the Ring Nebula sit almost straight overhead and Albireo shines high in the southern sky. As the night deepens, Altair stands high in the southern sky and Deneb remains almost straight overhead, with Mars near the eastern horizon and the Alpha Capricornids and southern Delta Aquariids meteors active. Approaching morning, Mercury appears near the eastern horizon. The Andromeda Galaxy and Merfac are almost straight overhead, Saturn is halfway up the southern sky, and the Perseids meteors continue to streak across the sky. We close the night with satellites crossing the face of the moon. Look halfway up the southern sky for Venus, a dazzling silver-white point visible to the naked eye. As the second brightest object in the sky after the moon, it outshines every star. A telescope or binoculars will reveal extra detail of this planet. In Los Angeles, the planet culminates at 8:15 in the evening, in New York at 8:35 in the evening, and in London at 9:20 in the evening. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, with a surface near 465 degrees Celsius, hotter than Mercury, even though Venus lies farther from the Sun, because its thick carbon dioxide atmosphere traps heat in a runaway greenhouse effect. Tonight's deep sky object is the lost-in-space galaxy, a small spiral sitting alone in the void. To find it in Draco, look high in the northern sky and follow the body of the dragon north of the Hercules keystone. Around 9:45 in the evening, the galaxy reaches its highest point for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London, where it remains above the horizon all night. Its name comes from a Hubble press release describing it as lost in space, and the phrase stuck to a galaxy that genuinely has almost no neighbors. In catalogs, it is listed as NGC 6503. Vega sits almost straight overhead, the dazzling blue-white star of summer. You can spot it easily to the naked eye by locating the summer triangle. This star culminates for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London around 10:30 in the evening. The dust disk discovered around Vega inspired the broader hypothesis that planet formation is a common phenomenon throughout the galaxy. This preceded the first confirmed exoplanet discoveries by more than a decade. The Ring Nebula is a showpiece for any small telescope, appearing as a greenish ring in Lyra. Aim your telescope midway between the two southern stars of the Lyra parallelogram, just below brilliant Vega. The nebula is best placed for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London around 10:50 in the evening. Images from the James Webb Space Telescope, released in 2023, revealed the Ring Nebula in stunning detail, showing roughly 20,000 dense clumps of gas in its ring and about 10 concentric arcs in its faint outer halo. Albireo is a golden yellow star located high in the southern sky at the foot of the Northern Cross of Cygnus. While visible to the naked eye, a small telescope splits this double star into a gold and a blue companion. Around 11:25 in the evening, this star reaches its greatest altitude for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. The golden star, Albireo A, is not a single sun at all, but a close binary. Its blended, composite spectrum first revealed during the Henry Draper Spectral Survey in the late 19th century. Altair is the low corner of the summer triangle, flanked by two fainter stars. Find this white naked-eye star high in the southern sky. This star culminates for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London around 11:45 in the evening. Interferometric observations conducted in 1999-2000 with the Palomar testbed interferometer showed that Altair has a flattened, ellipsoidal photosphere due to its very rapid rotation. It was the first main sequence star for which such a shape was directly confirmed, with its equatorial diameter over 20% larger than its polar diameter. The Alpha Capricornids meteors are active now, 7 days past their peak and fading. Look halfway up the southern sky in Capricornus, letting your eyes wander off the radiant for the longest trails. The radiant reaches its highest point for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London around 12:25 after midnight. Deneb marks the luminous top of the Northern Cross and one corner of the Summer Triangle. Look almost straight overhead to see this blue-white naked eye star. Around 12:35 after midnight, this star culminates for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London, where it remains above the horizon all night. The name Deneb comes from the Arabic expression al-Danab al-Dajaja, meaning tail of the hen. This star marks the tail of the constellation Cygnus, while the double star Albireo marks its beak. Mars rises near the eastern horizon as an orange-red point visible to the naked eye. The earliest rise belongs to London at 1:30 in the morning, with New York following at 2:10 in the morning and Los Angeles at 2:26 in the morning. Mars experiences enormous dust storms that can grow to planetary scale, sometimes covering the entire planet and lasting for several months, significantly affecting the planet's temperature. Now we turn to the crossings of Phobos and Deimos across the disk of Mars. Phobos makes its first crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. In Los Angeles, this event occurs between 5:04 in the morning and 5:58 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon. In New York, the passage runs from 8:04 in the morning to 8:58 in the morning with Mars standing above the horizon. In London, the crossing happens between 1:04 in the afternoon and 1:58 in the afternoon as Mars remains above the horizon. Phobos makes its second crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. In Los Angeles, this passage takes place between 12:43 in the afternoon and 1:37 in the afternoon with Mars above the horizon. In New York, it occurs from 3:43 in the afternoon to 4:37 in the afternoon while Mars is above the horizon. In London, Mars is below the horizon. Deimos makes its first crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 82 minutes. In Los Angeles, this event happens between 1:15 in the afternoon and 2:37 in the afternoon with Mars above the horizon. In New York, it runs from 4:15 in the afternoon to 5:37 in the afternoon as Mars stands above the horizon. In London, Mars is below the horizon. Phobos makes its next crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. This passage takes place between 4:23 in the morning and 5:17 in the morning in London, where Mars is above the horizon. In Los Angeles and New York, Mars is below the horizon. Phobos makes its next crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. In Los Angeles, this event happens between 4:02 in the morning and 4:56 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon. In New York, it runs from 7:02 in the morning to 7:56 in the morning with Mars above the horizon. In London, the crossing occurs between 12:02 in the afternoon and 12:56 in the afternoon as Mars stands above the horizon. The Southern Delta Aquariids meteors are active now, 7 days past their peak and fading. Look halfway up the southern sky in Aquarius, letting your eyes wander off the radiant for the longest trails. Around 2:35 in the morning, the radiant reaches its greatest altitude for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. Mercury rises near the eastern horizon as a steady point visible to the naked eye. The earliest rise belongs to London at 3:56 in the morning, with New York following at 4:27 in the morning and Los Angeles at 4:40 in the morning. Mercury is so hard to glimpse in the sun's glare that, by a long-told legend, even the astronomer Nicholas Copernicus complained he never once managed to see it. The Andromeda Galaxy is the farthest thing the eye can see, appearing as a faint oval smudge. Hop from the corner of the Great Square of Pegasus along the Andromeda chain to find it almost straight overhead. The galaxy is best placed for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London around 4:35 in the morning, where it remains above the horizon all night. Andromeda contains approximately 1 trillion stars, making it the largest galaxy in the local group, significantly more than the Milky Way's estimated 400 billion stars. In catalogs, it is listed as M31. Saturn shines as a steady, unblinking golden point halfway up the southern sky in Pisces. It is visible to the naked eye and fainter than Jupiter, though twilight may brighten the view at its best moment. Around 4:50 in the morning, the planet reaches its highest point for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. At Saturn's North Pole, scientists have observed a persistent hexagonal storm system about 25,000 kilometers wide, a geometric weather pattern unlike anything seen on other planets. Merfolk is one of the 50 brightest stars, shining almost straight overhead in Perseus. Follow the W of Cassiopeia, extended toward Perseus, to find this naked eye star. In Los Angeles, this star stands highest at 5:35 in the morning, in New York at 5:20 in the morning, and in London at 4:50 in the morning, remaining above the horizon all night. Merfolk has a mass about 8.5 times that of the Sun and a radius about 68 times that of the Sun. Its brightness exceeds that of the Sun by more than 5,000 times. The Perseids meteors are active now, building to their peak in 6 days. Look high in the northern sky in Perseus, letting your eyes wander off the radiant for the longest trails. 5:35 in the morning is the moment the radiant culminates in Los Angeles, 5:20 in the morning in New York, and 4:50 in the morning in London, where it remains above the horizon all night. On this night, satellites cross the moon's disk 14 times, with 7 of those tracks passing close to towns and settlements, and 6 of those are presented here. The Tiangong space station makes its first crossing of the night, and for an observer standing on the narrow ground path, the crossing of the disk takes only about 1 second. The ground path runs from over the open Atlantic at 2:18 in the morning to north of Timbuktu at 5:25 in the morning. The second crossing of the night is again by the Tiangong space station. Its ground path runs from over the Amazon basin at 3:23 in the morning to over the open Atlantic at 4:30 in the morning. The third crossing of the night is again by the Tiangong space station. Its ground path runs from over the open Atlantic at 3:46 in the morning to over the Sahara at 4:53 in the morning. The fourth crossing of the night is again by the Tiangong space station. Its ground path runs from near Bontang at 4:04 in the morning to over the open Pacific at 5:11 in the morning. The fifth crossing of the night is again by the Tiangong space station. Its ground path runs from over the open Pacific at 4:55 in the morning to near Cap Haitian at 6:02 in the morning. The sixth crossing of the night is again by the Tiangong space station. Its ground path runs from over the open Pacific at 5:27 in the morning to northeast of Veracruz at 5:34 in the morning. A total solar eclipse is coming soon. Follow Sky Tonight for details. Thanks for joining us tonight. Subscribe to stay updated, and see you next time for Clear Skies.